All right, so now I'm going to be pulling the front driver wheel off here so that I can get this axle off. Up in there on that axle, that boot actually has a real small little cut on it. I just replaced a boot on another. I thought it was at that point, but it actually was over here on this boot. So I'll pull this axle out and then replace that boot and probably put this one back in since it's a known quantity. No issue with it other than the fact I cut the stupid boot. So not 100% sure. Again, haven't done this before. Looks like there's all kind of things up in here we're gonna need to pull off to get this to happen. So saw some video on it, nothing very descriptive and detailed, so I'll try to make this one as descriptive and detailed as possible. So step one is going to be jacking this bad boy up. Let me get that done. All right, as most of you know, 4 bolts, 17 millimeter, one-handed, so gonna set the phone down, but pulling that off, simple, painless. All right, that's off. Let me show you something I'm expecting to see, but I'm not seeing. See right here? I thought there would be a cotter pin through there that I would have to get off. I'm gonna go check my manual and double check and make sure, but I'm fairly certain that was supposed to be there. So someone other than myself has gotten into here before. This is used, very well taken care of, but was used. They did have, supposedly, y'all can say otherwise if you know otherwise, but these guys supposedly have been replaced. This is a 20 and they needed to be replaced and supposedly were. So I am curious now. I am going to pause for a second and go check this and verify that that is the case, that one, those have been replaced, and if a cotter pin was supposed to be on here. 17 millimeter bolts off for the tire. Behind here somewhere, there are, right here, if you can see my finger, here and then down here, 2 14 millimeters that need to come off for the brakes. While I'm doing this, I'm gonna double check the brakes. You may be able to see. Can you see down through? Not sure if you can, but kind of see from this angle. If I show you the same thing I'm looking at, hell, it's hard to see. I don't think the pads need to be replaced, but when we pull this completely off, obviously be able to tell a little better. I got a set of pads. If it needs it, stick them on there. All right, let me go do my search in my service manual to just find out about the cotter pin and these guys here. All right, using my lovely Ryobi ratchet here, pull off this 14. You want me to lie to you and tell you that this tool did it on its own and I did not have to do anything before that? Okay, I will. It wasn't the case. I had to use something a little more oomph, but this is just easier to go ahead and finish pulling it off, so that's what I'm gonna go ahead and finish doing. Just to show y'all the pads and these bad boys, these are the original pads. I have not changed these guys out. It's been through Windrock, Colorado, Arkansas, Tennessee. Engine brake on this guy is pretty awesome. So Feel pretty good about that. We'll look at the other side just to make sure, but feel really good. All right, so I've already unscrewed it, but take off your main axle nut here and washer. Just to let you know, that was a size 27. If you don't have it, just upgrade your set. Gonna take the shock arm, gonna loosen that up. I did go ahead and pull off the bolt for the sway bar, because when I pull that shock arm and kind of pull it out, I'm going to use a like a bungee cord or something to kind of attach down here and swing this up to where I can get a better grip on this axle and pull it straight out towards me. That's the plan. Hopefully I don't have the evil axles that cause all the grief that other folks have been having, but I think they've been in the rear mainly, hopefully, crossing my fingers. So we shall see. All right, so shock is pulled off now. Looks like top and bottom A-arms have to come off. If you look down here, this bolt has a cotter pin through it. Loosen it on that side, pull that guy out, thinking then you just unscrew him. You know, you see what it's attached to. I'll have to just unscrew him and see if it's tight, how this is on here. And then you got the same thing down here, same sort of situation with the bolt with the cotter pin. So I'm going to mess with this a little bit and see if that is the case. Also, looks like brakes has this guy right here. We have to pull him off, set him off to the side so that we can then pry this guy. I'm not sure if it's going to come off easy or have to hit it with a rubber mallet or something to get him off. Of course, you don't want to bend your rotor at all, so when I get to that point, we'll see what surfaces we have behind there to knock them off. All right, so got the bottom one out. Started with the easy one first. You can kind of get a good idea of what that looks like. This is a 19 millimeter. Sorry about the autofocus. You know, use your needle nose, pinch the cotter pin together, beat it through some little vice grips or what have you. You can pull it on out. That's not hard. 19 millimeter socket. Pulled this guy off pretty easily with this washer. So that being said, this bottom piece, well, it's already down, so I guess I could, once I get the other, I can lift it up, but that is what connects here, so there's nothing else holding that on, y'all. See if y'all can get a decent view of that without it freaking crazy auto zooming, but you can see the hole there for him. So the top one, a little bit more pain in the ass because it's up in there. So yeah, let me figure out the method I'm going to use to pull this guy out, because it's pretty close. Not going to be able to fit a socket in there, so we're going to have to do this one the old-fashioned way, it looks like. All right, so got that bolt out as well. He was not, or she, who knows, was not too terribly tight on there. Was able to use 19 wrench, get him off of there. Only thing I did find going down to this area here, that bolt's pretty thick. So when it got to about down here, it was rubbing down here pretty good. I just kind of had to work it a little bit. I didn't want to pry or do anything. I don't want to mess that boot up. That's not one that is messed up. It's the other one on the other side that I need to change. So I only have one. So now gonna see about prying this guy up and out of the way I should be able to lift it out of the bottom one. Once that's done, take this bolt out, and this guy should just come on out, and we'll pull that out. It'll be super easy. I'm going to use the method I've seen online, the push in really hard, pull out even harder. I've seen that online numerous times, various videos, some of them even related to side-by-sides, and that seems to be a pretty good method, so let's give that a try. And just FYI, the bolt right there holding your brake on there, that is a 10 millimeter. And also, a nugget of joy I didn't notice for some freaking reason, the steering arm thing, it also is over here and has same sort of setup. So another nut, another cotter pin, pull that out. And because why not, this one here, the nut down there is not a 19 like the other one was, it is a 22. So hopefully in your same set you're using with all this other mess, you got you a 22 to get them off there. So let me get that done. All right guys, I got hub off. Let me tell you, it was on obviously like so. Doesn't slide off at all whatsoever. So what I did, and I saw a Super ATV video, sorry horsefly trying to get me, I'm fixing to scream like a girl, and on the back of this you have these Allen bolts on the back here, and so where this attaches, so that's your, where this attaches, that's your strong part. Take a hammer, I was using a rag as a it's kind of a buffer, and I would hammer, turn it, hammer, turn it, hammer, turn it, and kept doing that till eventually I was able, you know, just kind of yank it off, and it came off. I did see on one video where they did not have to take the top out, but did have to take this out, and what they did, what they did was beat it right here with a hammer on the side, and it loosened it up to where that arm would come off. I'm gonna try that and see if that works for me. I haven't had much luck with it, but gonna try it, see if that helps. Well, damn it. This is out. Axle's out. I did not have to pull those out. I was just screwing with it, seeing if something would work, and it did. So let me kind of go over what I did so you'll know. And by the way, this axle just popped its ass right out of there. No problem. Have a little grease leaking out up here. Diff fluid, I reckon. Hopefully all that looks like it's supposed to. So I was holding this up, trying to deal with these other two deals, trying to get that guy and that guy out. While holding this up, the end of this axle started going through, and I was like, well, hell, I may not have to pull that off at all. So just kept pulling this up and out, and axle came out. While it was out, I was holding it right there, was holding this up, and just pushed in, yanked. Nothing popped out. Super easy. No issues, no concerns so far. You know how that's gonna go, right? Now that I said that. So I'm gonna take this guy inside. I'm gonna make sure other one looks similar, if not identical. It should. And I'm gonna come put it in its place and reverse this process. Then I can go and deal with boot issue. See, that's where the boot's cut and you got some grease leaking out on there. So, I mean, I was pretty nervous about this to begin with because I've seen so many issues with people pulling axles out, but I think they're pulling them out in the rear. But, you know, again, not having ever done this, didn't know what to expect. So that's what I encountered. So let me go put that on the vise, get my other axle, and go ahead and start put it all back together. All right, so of course it's getting dark, but when you put this axle back in particular, this little whatever you call that, this little hooky deal that goes around in there, it needs to be facing up. The C, think of it, it's in a C around there. It needs to be facing up when you put it in. That's according to the manual. I'm looking at the service manual right now. It says to do that, so I'm gonna do that. God, this auto zoom crap is killing me. But anyway, that's what you gotta do. So I'm gonna put him in there, try not to lose too much more freaking diff fluid. All right, guys, I wish I had more than one freaking hand doing this stuff, but got it in, pushed it in. It feels right. It feels like it's in okay. Moved it in and out after having it in, and seems to be locked in there. That's good. Now here, let me show you my rig job. Shock is up by that bungee cord. I use this other strap to hold all of this up, and was able to get the axle into it. So I did grease the other side, put some block anti-seize on it before I put it in. The manual says to grease it with basically the same grease that goes in the boot. Mola some kind of grease, you know, hard words, but that's what the manual says, so I did that as well. So now I'm going to start the process of putting this back together. So yeah, so it's kind of dark, so actually I'm probably gonna hold off until in the morning because mosquitoes and horseflies are kicking my ass right now. But this will be okay like this. I have that in, so I'm not worried about it leaking or having any critters crawl into it overnight. And all of this is there. New boot on this side. The boot over there is fine. I'm going to swap the boot out. It'll be, I don't know if it'll be in this video, but I'm going to swap that boot out so I have a full, a good working spare on that axle I just pulled out. So I'll be able to do this again if ever needed. All right, I'll start putting it back together probably in the morning. If I find any issues, I'll continue recording, letting you know. All right, guys, I think I left off all this just hanging here was going in because of mosquitoes and horseflies. So I'm back out here putting this guy back on, going to see what it takes, because as you push this, it pushes the axle, it moves the axle around back here. So there's probably, I'm sure there's a tool that is great for this that just bam, probably puts it on here instantly and there's no issue whatsoever. Yeah, I don't have that tool. I did go to Harbor Freight, went to Home Depot and Harbor Freight Home Depot had nothing. Harbor Freight had everything I needed. Go figure. But yeah, to replace a cotter pin that goes here that wasn't there before. So, all right, let me see how I'm gonna beat and bash this thing on here, and then we'll move forward. All right, so I got it back to where it was whenever started. So let me show you what I did to get this done. I just lightly kind of banged on it, bang, 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 until I got where I could see some threads. I threaded this guy on just a little bit. Then I used this guy to just slightly, just using, trying not to use too terrible much force on it on my low setting to push it in. Worked pretty good. Did it without the washer, so I got to take it off, put the washer on. Put this guy back on. Now I have, before I started today, wrote down all the torques for all these bolts and nuts that I took off. So for this guy, this is the bigger one. Front axle nut is 106 foot-pounds of torque. So get your handy dandy torque wrench after you snug this on and torque it down. But looking at it, I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull this. Well, shit, I'm not gonna pull it off because that's a pain in the ass. I would recommend for you guys that haven't done this, not to put this on yet until you fully have all this other stuff back here on. Would be much easier to get to and deal with without having this big ass hub here in the way. Damn. All right, well, learn from me. Do as I say, not as I do. So, but since I did it, I'm gonna just move forward with this. So let's keep going. All right, next I'm going to torque down the tie rod in nut right there, down there. Of course, it was the one that was it's a 22 millimeter, and its torque spec is 30.6. I do not have one that says 30.6. I can do 31 or 30 or somewhere kind of halfway in between, not super precise. So that's what I'm going to do. Torquing him to 30.6. One thing you want to make sure you do also, remember you had that little cotter pin. So you want to make it to where, I hope the zoom just doesn't work that great, but that cotter pin hole is lined up with one of those so you can slide that cotter pin in and put it on. All right, so both of these are done. You can see the zoom will let you that guy, and then there is that guy right there. So don't forget you can turn your steering while this is like this to help you get a better angle if you're at a whopped out angle, a little more difficult, depending on where those holes line up. So that's on. Going to let this guy, let my little rope there go and drop it so I can install some of this other stuff. So far I haven't gone too terribly bad. Just use a little flathead screwdriver and a hammer to get the ends of that cotter pin to separate kind of where you want them to go. All right, so made a little bit of progress. This bottom guy down here, kind of a pain in the rear because the whatever you call this piece, the bolt that goes through, was at a whopped out angle, and it took me a bit to maneuver that to where I could start that castle nut on it. I haven't tightened it. I'm fixing to do that, but I also I just set brake caliper on there, and I hand screwed that guy in there just to hold him down. Drop the shock from my bungee cord. Just gonna have to lift up a little bit to slide that bolt through. And then I guess last, I may connect the sway bar back, or I may just take this time to not do that. I'll think about it a little bit and then let y'all know. But I'm gonna get that bottom castle nut tightened again. Let me look at my instructions I wrote down over here. Let's see. The brake caliper bolts, the ones that go back up in here, they're 33 foot-pounds torque. The tie rod end, same as that one, is a 30.6. So these are fairly close to each other. When I get all of this on, then I'm going to drop it the other side a little bit so I can tighten this guy down. Well, I don't know if that'll let me, because right now what I'm doing when I turn this, it's turning all this, you know, turning the entire axle there. So I don't know if putting the other side down is going to help, because I think they're separate. So, but I'll figure out a way. We'll talk about that whenever we get to it. So let's get the bottom done. All right, I got sidetracked. My daughter came over, but show this little guy there. He is installed. A little bit of a pain, but got him in there, so that's all good. Focus, won't focus, but you know what, you see what I'm trying to show you there. This guy up here, I forgot to mention the hem, the top one. I did not get him torqued because of where it's located. Couldn't get anything in there other than just a open wrench, you know. So it is tightened to all my little uggas that I can do, and then I'll put the cotter pin in. So hopefully that's gonna be good enough. Now we're gonna mount the shock back in, and then I'm gonna see about tightening this guy to torque spec. It's 106, so it's quite a bit. Oh, and also put these bolts on. I'm gonna put these bolts in back there. They are the 30 or 30, 33. I have it written down. I said it earlier, but I'm gonna get those done. All right, so these guys are all torqued down. These guys were torqued down to their 33, I think it was, not this one and the one down below it. This guy, we've done this numerous times. It's 70. I do it at 71 or so, because my I think it's 70 point something, and you know, I go up one because I don't think mine's 100% accurate. Axle's fully in, looks good, pleased with it. Gonna get the tire on. Yeah, first let me go ahead and make sure I torque this guy to it's 106, I believe it is, and then we'll put the tire on and go test it out, hit some bumps and turns and make sure nothing makes any noises that shouldn't. All right, guys, so I got it to click. I got it to, as I sword fight a damn horsefly. Son of a biscuit, that damn horse. Got him right there. Big horse I've been trying to get me. See if I can get him on. Oh, of course not. All right, so we're gonna try to finish this up. But what I did, I think it moved a little bit, but using this and this spot here was able to hold this from turning while I tightened it and got my torque wrench to click. So that's what I did. You know, it'd be way easier to put tire on, drop it, pull the little cover off and do it that way. I just didn't want to pull the cover off because then it'll probably fall off and I'll lose it. So if you have one of these, you know that's an issue. So mine have never fallen off to 2020. I got lucky. All right, so what now? Now I think I'm gonna go ahead and tie these guys up. I'm gonna pull off the other side, this front sway bar, and zip tie them up. And then if I like it, I'll buy one of the permanent tie-ups from either Full Access or Viper machine, and we'll go that way. But I'll do one last picture, I guess, when it's done, and that'll be enough. All right, wheels back on here. Don't forget, lug nuts, 88.5 foot-pounds torque. I learned the hard way with another side-by-side to not just trust your lug-nuts to always torque those. So I learned that the hard way. My tire passed me going down a trail at Windrock. Not the funnest thing in the world, so don't let it happen to you. Torque your lug nuts. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for this. I know this is kind of long and tedious, but I wanted to try to make it as detailed as possible because there wasn't anything that I found that had all of this in it. So maybe this will help you. Maybe it won't. You know, like, subscribe, and all that crap. Comment below. Let me know things I may have missed, better ways that other people can do things. That's how we do this. You know, we try and learn and try to share that knowledge. Thanks, guys.